The color red is everywhere, and usually when it's used as a light, it's usually a warning light. Examples are fire truck sirens, even lights on top of skyscrapers, in airplanes, car brake lights, and even traffic lights. Why is the color red used everywhere, and why is it used as a warning light? And what's the science behind the color red? What makes it so special? Well, in this episode, I'm going to take you behind the science of the color red and answer the question why it's used in all these warning lights and what kind of science goes into that. Let's go! So why is the color red used in all these warning lights? Well, first, we have to talk about light. Light travels in photons, or these are tiny little particles of light. And when light hits an object, it reflects back into our eyes, and that's what enables us to see colors. And that's how we see the color red in the first place, or any other color. When you're looking at the screen, all the light that's coming from the screen is going into your eyes, and your brain is telling you what color the video or even anything that you're looking at is. Now, red is very, very special. And that is because of the visible light spectrum. The visible light spectrum is a spectrum of colors on the visible light spectrum. White light is made up of few colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Those are the main different types of colors that are in the visible light spectrum. And any white light that comes from the sun or from LED light bulbs, it's all made up of all these colors. And the reason this is very important is because red has the longest wavelength of that spectrum. And wavelength is basically how far apart the waves are. You see, light travels in waves like the waves in the ocean, but it's a little different. The distance between the crest of a wave and another crest of the wave, which is the tops of the waves, is the wavelength. And when it comes to the color red, the wavelength of those red light waves are very, very long. Now, what does that have to do with red being a warning light? Well, since the wavelength of the color red is so long, that means that it doesn't dissipate, or it doesn't spread out in all different directions very easily. It's able to travel long distances. The color red travels all these long distances because of this long wavelength, which means you can cover more space over a given amount of time. And since the wavelengths are so long, and it doesn't really dissipate, and it can be seen through fog and smoke and other types of conditions, that's why people use red lights as warning signs. Because warning signs have to be visible for the human eye, and they have to be easily visible. You shouldn't try to see them. You could just see them without having to strain your eyes. And that's why brake tail lights and even other fire trucks and lights on top of skyscrapers are red, and they sometimes flash as well, which basically aids our eyes, and we're able to see them because of these long wavelengths that the color red has. And these on top of skyscrapers, planes need to see where the skyscrapers or even cell towers are. So they need that red light on top of it in order for everyone to see where those buildings are. And it just isn't buildings, it's also driving. And it's very important for safety, because car taillights are really, really important, because if they're not on, the car behind you can't see what's in front of it. And if there's fog or heavy rain, you can't really see what's going on in front of you. And that's why the red lights on all of these things, and fire trucks as well, it increases visibility. And the red lights on all these things help save lives. And it also helps people view these things easier, because it's all thanks to the visible light spectrum and the long wavelengths of the color red. That's what makes red so special and so widely used in all of these things. Alright, let's review what we learned in this episode. Let's go! In this episode, we learned that red is used in many warning signs and many warning lights because of the properties of the color red. Red on the visible light spectrum has the longest wavelength, meaning it travels the longest distances, and it travels without other things interacting with it and dissipating the light, meaning that's very visible in different types of conditions, including fog and rain and smoke. And red lights help keep people safe because they're visible and you can see what's in front of you, or you can see if there's something alert going on. It really stands out. That's because of the color red's unique properties of these wavelengths. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Spectacular Science. Spectacular Science produced and hosted by me, Akshay J. Raman. Our theme song and additional music are by Charan Ramachandran. Please visit my podcast website, spectacularsci.com, to find interactive activities, articles, and blog posts. That's spectacularsci.com. Do you have a science question you want answered on a Spectacular Science episode and get a special shout out? Or grab an adult and head over to spectacularsci.com/contact. There you can find a contact form where you can send me your amazing science questions. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening right now. It really encourages me, and you'll be up to date on all the new episodes. Subscribe and share this podcast with your friends and family. Thank you so much. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of Spectacular Science next week. Keep thinking about science.